Yeah, with Woody Allen's in it and Danny Aiello.
Oh, that was great fun.
Yeah, I'll burn a copy for you. I'm sure
I
you
would
don't
love
have
to see
one.
that.
Yeah, it's
so,
good.
I meet Fred Stoller, and Pips was a 2-6-pack ride from Oyster Bay. I was so drunk by the time I got there, so I go to work at Pips, and my first comedy album came out, which was an exciting thing to have an LP, and I sold 5 albums for like, $5 a piece or something like that. No, I sold 15 in the 2 shows. On the 2 nights, I sold 15 albums, which was an extra $75, and I probably made $50 or $100. So this was like double.
That's a big night.
I was like, holy shit, I'm going to make so much. I never sold 15 albums. To this day, I don't think I ever sold 15 CDs, but I must have been so excited. I must have done a good sell job. And they never had me back.
Really?
And they never had me back to Pips. And 20 years later, I meet Fred Stoller and goes, oh, yeah. He says, you're the guy they wouldn't have back to Pips because he drank too much. And I was like, what a badge. The fucking place was a hellhole of drugs and smack and coke. And I drank too much.
You drank too much.
For that
What a
place.
badge of honor to not be, it's like you can't come in here, you're too crazy. Like, wow.
Who came up with you guys when you were doing Pips? Who else was...
Richard Jenny was there a lot. Mulrooney, a guy named Rich Triola, still around.
That was even a little bit later, early.
Yeah.
Well, no, who the hell was...
Well, it was Rodney and those guys in the 60s. David Brenner was best friends with the owner, George Schultz, who came
Georgie
up.
Starr.
Yeah.
God, I remember.
And there was mafia guys everywhere around there. They killed the guy next door.
Really?
This guy, Frank Rubino, and his son, Rocco, was murdered. And I was talking to him 10 minutes before they killed him.
Holy
shit.
shit.
He was renovating the place, and he had that white shit on the windows when they're, when they're doing construction. He goes, yeah, Otto, I'm going to knock that wall down and put a fucking bottle over there. And then, like, 10 minutes later, my friend Andrew Lederer comes over to me. He goes, they just killed Rocco. and I go, I only walked like 10 steps. And
But it's not a bit. This is,
he had
Holy
11
shit.
bullet holes in him, and the last one in his throat, and he was like foaming blood coming out of his, and he was dead. And then there was FBI was there all night writing down license plates and shit. And
wow,
he left.
That's
Rocco and his father was named Frank Rubino, and he used to carry a hand grenade in his leather coat. He showed it to me.
Hand grenade?
Yeah, he goes, everybody's got guns. I gotta fucking blow up my enemies.
Oh,
I went, oh man. He was a frightening guy.
What a nut.
And he was found in Coney Island a week later, beaten and his balls smashed with a hammer and shot in the head.
I guess
And
this grenade didn't. What happened with the grenade?
Someone took that.
Not a chance
they
to pull
got
the
the
pin.
jump
You're
on
beating
him.
the hell out of somebody,
Yeah.
These were fucking scary people, man.
Wow.
And then there was the worst punch or best punch I ever saw was there was this guy, Fat Anthony, who was just kind of like the overseer of the block. He didn't work for any particular restaurant or anything. And it was like in the middle of the summer during the day, and it was this drunk Jewish guy who was just going into every business like with a Budweiser and just, flirting with the girls and just being a jerk, but not really out of line. And he was leaning on a car and drinking a bottle of Budweiser. And Fat Anthony, his hand came from like Florida, and it was like the size of the screen, and he drove the bottle into his teeth, and the punch followed through, and it was just a sickening sight. And me and Mulrooney saw the whole thing. We went, Anthony's gonna do something. And
He punched the bottle into his teeth?
Yeah, but with a hand the size of a microwave oven. And then just bam, and then just collapsed on the ground, and nobody saw nothing.
No,
He just
of course
laid there.
not. You just
and
turned
the guy
away.
was never the same. We saw him like 6 months later, and he was like, just a fucking nervous
It's a
ticks.
crazy neck of the woods.
What a punch. It
That
was
is
disgusting.
fuck. Those are the old days where like you were constantly reading in the paper about hey, Joey the horse
The bottle
Rabini
exploded
and
into dust. There was nothing left of it. It was just the
heyday
You
of
wonder
the
if these
mob, Long
places
Island.
really existed, and there it is.
Yeah.
Fat Anthony had enough of him and his fucking flirting with the girls.
Had enough of him.
That show that we did,
scrotum.
that was great fun. They did a movie about doing a show to raise money to save a club, but they did the movie to raise money to save the club. It was kind of show within a show within a show. It was great. And at the end, they asked me to go up and tell some dirty jokes so they could shoot from the outside
Colin's in it too.
to run
Credits
to
or
run the
whatever.
credits on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colin Quinn was in it, and Woody Allen and Pat Cooper. Well, Pat Cooper's not in it.
He
because
didn't make the
they
cut.
shot him.
Big pussies in it.
Well, they shot Pat Cooper, and he stood there, and he worked to Woody Allen and Danny Aiello, and broke balls and broke balls and broke balls. They said, all right, Pat, do it again and face us. He was like, I just did it. I just did it. I'm not going to do it again. Fuck you. I just did it. With Pat, we're making a movie. We got to do it. You know.
Yeah.
The payoff is Woody Allen actually does stand up like for the first time in forever, and it's just so cool to see him, just grab a mic and do anything.
And he watched us.
Yeah.
It was great. You
Wow.
know? Like Michael Green is cinematographer for the last 20 years. Is the reason they got Woody there, and plus he was good friends with Ray Garvey.
Garvey knew everybody.
And Michael Green went up and said, "So Woody, what'd you think of Jackie?" He said, "He's very funny, but he's not my cup of tea."
Not his cup of tea.
I'll take that as some
Obviously,
kind
you're
of
not
compliment.
Asian.
Yeah, put Chinese glasses on.
Yeah, exactly.
Milk his Jew cock.
But what's so funny, I went up there and told jokes so they could run the credits, right? So I did like about 10 minutes of jokes, and while we're doing, I don't know if you remember, while we're finishing the show, more and more people showed up, and some of the guys from The Sopranos came walking in. And what's his name? Tony.
Play the clarinet nude with a lollipop in my asshole. I know, perfect Peter Lorre.
What's Tony's name?
Sirico?
Tony Sirico
Yeah.
comes in.
Sure.
So I get off after doing 10 minutes of jokes, and I come over, and Sirico comes up to me and says, "Jack, you're really fucking scary." I said, "Sirico, you play the scariest guy maybe on television ever, and in real life you're even scarier."
Yeah.
And I told a few cock jokes. He said, No, you're really fucking scary. I thought, what a fucking oddball.
What did he mean by that?
Because my jokes were so dirty.
Oh.
He thought that was scary. I'm like, wow, what is your scale?
Yeah,
of,
that's not scary.
That's so funny. That was a fun thing. That was a great thing.
It's called The Last Laugh. My friend Glenn Miller got me a copy of it. It was just great seeing Pips again.
The musician?
No, not the band leader.
The band leader. Band leader. I heard about that.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here! Spitting corn on him.
Whatever happened to Fat Anthony?
I don't know. The neighborhood became more Russian, and when you go back there, I try and look for a familiar face, like when you go back to your old neighborhood and somebody you recognize. And I don't.
You recognize the
anybody
Jew
there.
with the bottle in his mouth?
Yeah, he's still there.
There's a statue.
Still there.
What is Pips now? Is it still there
It's
or
a
no?
sushi store. Yeah.
Does it look the same or no?
It's exactly the same. I walked in there and I just got creeped out and I left. It was like they kept raising the rent, and it was only so many seats, and they couldn't keep
50
raising
seats,
the cover.
right, or something?
Yeah, they couldn't keep raising the cover, and they couldn't keep raising the drink prices. It had to close, It was there.
That's
it was like
too
the
bad.
first comedy club ever in America.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was like 1962.
I only worked there a few times, but it was a rough room.
62?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a rough
There
room.
weren't comedy clubs before 62? You had to be in theaters and stuff?
That and the Ice House in California
Sure.
opened like the same month, or there's like one of them opened a week or two.
Oh, is
earlier.
that how close? They just had a huge anniversary of the Ice House.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I thought the
still
Ice
going.
House was like a recent not real recent, but
I heard that's a cake audience. That clubs won't take a tape that was filmed there because everybody that ever went on stage killed there.
Really?
I was
So
just
if-
going to say I killed it.
I did okay. I didn't kill. I had a
You didn't-
mediocre
you didn't
set.
crash? Really?
No.
Oh, well. Oh, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You are to comedy what Flashdance was to welding.
We should take a quick break here, man. These guys, I love the stories. We got Jackie Martling in studio, Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club, Staten Island, one show Saturday, and also jokeland.com.
Jokeland.com.
And then we got Otto, who's just fucking killing. Otto's making Jimmy laugh, which is making me laugh. There's a whole weird thing going on here. Fucking Otto. And
There's a
then
subtext when he does not never laughs exactly what you're saying. It's
always something else.
Yeah,
Which is fun.
Very
He
crafty.
writes his own tagline in his head and laughs at that.
exactly.
Otto's got the big gig at the Stress Factory, Vinny's Club in New Brunswick,
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Tonight through Saturday.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're both working for Vinny's.
I want to see that comp. I think that'd be worth it to go see the costume contest. I want to see you judge one of them.
Oh yeah,
Just so I know how painful that would be.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
you're not into that, Otto.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to say it on
Oh,
here.
let the puppet say something.
Yeah, right. Put George on the phone.
Let George dress up.
Oh, and they kept trying to get me to say something bad about Dunham. It's like, don't you hate Dunham?
What
No,
radio
he said-
show? What fucking cornball internet
The
show
club
is it?
set it up. The guy just called me at home on my cell phone and just,
What show, man?
I don't have
And find out from Vinny.
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
find
it
out.
was some horrible
Why
internet
is Vinny
thing.
making you do internet fucking shows?
I have to pump business, I guess. I don't know.
He's got a nice house. He doesn't need a pump
Yeah.
business anymore.
Does he?
The Opie and Anthony Show on the Virus, Sirius XM.
Not piss, but
We got to talk about this on the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony, we got to bring this up on the air.
God.
We got Jackie, the joke
Yes.
man in studio, and Otto and George. Well, just Otto. George is back home, I guess,
There's
right?
a story. I don't know if you told me or somebody told me about the gist of it is Jesus weed. Do you remember that story about getting pulled over and then having this like homegrown pot? Does that ring a bell to
That's
you?
not enough of this. You know, you haven't narrowed it down enough.
What I heard was that the guy you got pulled over and you had like an ounce of pot right there, and
I got pulled over.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
And
go
the
ahead.
cop was like, What's that? Oh man, it's pot. I'm lost. I'm so fucking stuck. You were just honest with the guy and like talked your way out of it by just saying, look, if you're not a girl with big tits, being like brutally honest is your only chance of getting away with it. But then you said to the cop that we call it Jesus weed. It's homegrown. He goes, what's Jesus weed mean? He goes, you smoke it and you pray you get high. And then the guy said, all right, you guys are comedians. Open the trunk. If I don't find any more grass, I'm going to let you go. That doesn't ring a bell?
That does not, but so
Legend.
many stupid things happen that, but that's too good a story. I mean,
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say it didn't happen because
Yeah.
I want the story to keep getting
Yeah,
told.
that's a good story.
Well, Jackie was just telling us when he knew he had a drinking problem, and you
'cause
brought up something.
We were talking about drinking. We used to drink on our way to go to drink. So if you're going to a bar or going to a gig or something like that, we would bring beer.
It was normal.
For the drive. It was normal to drive around
Yeah.
with a beer between your legs as you're driving and just drink, not thinking like, what the fuck am I going to do with this if I get pulled over?
Right.
Like, where am I going to put
I
this?
could drive along and take a beer and open it with another beer upside down.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
easily. I mean, that was
Yeah.
just,
Tell the story when you knew you had a drinking problem.
well, and that was probably years before. But anytime you're going out, we'd always want to be on time because we wouldn't want to, miss happy hour. And,
God forbid.
and I would always get the happy hour and then ask for, a couple of extra drinks so you'd have something, so you wouldn't have to wait for the waiter to come to the table and take your order. All these little tricks.
Yeah.
You thought they were tricks. But I would have a beer ready to go. I'd open a beer and when we were getting ready to leave. And very often your wife isn't ready. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I'm standing there sipping my beer, and she's not ready yet. And all of a sudden my beer is half gone. And I'm like, well, fuck, this isn't enough beer to get me somewhere. And I'm not going to bring an extra one in my pocket. I don't want to piss her off. So I would go downstairs and finish the beer I was drinking and put it in the refrigerator, the empty, because I'll take care of it later, and get another beer out. And I mean, she's 2 floors away, but just to be careful, I'd cough and pop the pop top and come up.
She wouldn't know you
so
went for
I'd
the
be on my
second beer.
second one,
Yeah.
and we'd be on the way.
Oh, God
Yeah.
damn.
And it was very funny because we never. I mean, every time you got done with dinner or whatever, and then they'd come around with the coffee. And I would never, ever have a cup of coffee.
No.
I would have another drink.
Yeah, what
And
is that? You got to have
the
coffee now.
The last time I ever drank, I was at a christening in May of 2001, and
Wow.
we were at this christening, and the waitress came around, and it was a real low level christening. So she had the coffee thing in one hand, and a pitcher of beer in the other hand. Not the classiest joint, And she's coming around and she's, filling up the coffee and filling people's beers. And I pushed my beer glass back and put my coffee cup in front of me. And Nancy looked at me like she was sitting with a fucking alien.
Yeah,
And she
who
said,
are you?
"What are you doing?" I said, "I'm done."
Wow.
Just like that?
She said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm done." And that was it. That was
Really?
it.
What clicked in
What,
your
the
head?
sight of the waitress and
I
the-
had gone to
He was done
Memphis.
drinking beer out of mugs. He started coffee cups.
I had gone to Memphis the week before when we had gotten so drunk, and I just would spend the whole day just waiting for it to be 5 o'clock so I could start drinking. I was like, you know what? And I was off the Stern Show, and I had way too much fucking free time. I'm like,